Our next speaker is District Attorney Skurka. He is with the Nueces County District Attorney's Office. He has held his post since 2010. He graduated from Del Mar College in '83 with an associate's degree, Corpus Christi State University with a Bachelor's of Art degree in 1983. He received his Doctor of Jurisprudence from the University of Houston Law School in 1986. He became a licensed lawyer in 1986 and has been on the board certified in criminal law since 1993. He has worked at the Nueces County District Attorney's Office for 29 years as a trial prosecutor, supervisor, first assistant district attorney, and currently as district attorney. He has prosecuted many high-profile cases. He has served on numerous boards, such as the Texas Council on Family Violence, the Texas District and County Attorneys Association, and the Corpus Christi Bar Association and the Child Advocacy Center. Welcome so much. Thank you. And he is going to be our next presenter.
Good morning. Thank you for that invitation and introduction to this. We're going to talk a little bit more now about the legal system. We've talked about stuff on the streets. We've talked about how it affects your brain. And now we're going to talk a little bit about how it comes to my office. And when I say there's a new demon in town, I really mean that. I mean, this stuff is some really, really bad stuff. And it looks like this. It goes under all kinds of different names. It looks pretty innocuous. But make no mistake, this is a demon that's terrorizing our community right now. It's tearing apart our children. It's everywhere on each side of the town. And it's really one of some bad stuff. Because this is what it turns out to. I mean, seriously, people keep telling me they're like zombies out there. And they really are. You can ask these officers, you can ask these judges, you can ask these medical people. A lot of them come in like that. But they come in all kinds of different things. It brings up paramedics. You go on YouTube and look at some of these videos of people. It's just incredible how they start hitting on this stuff and then start flopping around on the ground. Some become aggressive. Some become like zombies. And it's just crazy for all of us who are used to dealing with things, dealing with all this stuff. You know, I've been at the DA's office for 29 years now. And we've always had these demons in our community. We've always had opium. We've always had marijuana. We've always had pills, LSD, heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, methamphetamine. I mean, those have been around for a while. When I started at the DA's office, I mean, we didn't have methamphetamine too much. I mean, methamphetamine was kind of the new thing then, and it was cooked by the biker gangs out in Flower Bluff. Every once in a while you'd see some place explode because they didn't mix the chemicals right. And then we went after a lot of the meth labs and everything. But you remember when cocaine was just for the rich people? You know, it cost so much when rich people did it. Then it became crack cocaine. It became an urban problem, an inner city problem because it got cheaper. You know, methamphetamine was kind of new. Then heck, anybody could go on the internet and get the recipe for methamphetamine, buy the stuff at a Walmart or auto parts store, and make their own. So we've had all these things, and it's like almost an evolution of drugs. And now we have this new stuff that's even worse. I was first introduced to it by, when I say introduced, I just had to take something. I was at a meeting at the police department. Commander John Houston was telling me about this situation his officers had just encountered. He was in patrol, and we were there talking about something else. He goes, you know, something weird happened last night. I go, what do you mean? He goes, I had these officers responding to a call or like a loud party or something like that, or disturbance, and they go in there, and they go into the house, and there's 4 guys are sitting there stoned out of their mind, acting weird, doing stuff, and the cops go, a pot party. There's something going on here. Where's the marijuana? And they look around, and they can't find any. They find this incense-looking stuff. It doesn't smell like marijuana, you know, in the raw form. It doesn't smell like burnt marijuana. They don't know what the heck it is, but they know it's something, because these guys are definitely on something, but they don't know what it is, and they can't arrest anybody. They had no idea what to do with this stuff. Then we started getting these stores, and y'all know this, stores in your neighborhood would be selling this stuff. Not just smoke shops, but convenience stores. Heck, they had it right there on the shelf. Anybody could buy that stuff right off the shelf. It was everywhere. I'd go in they used to call Maverick Market, now they're all different things. But they would go in there and they'd have this stuff on on the camera. I go, what is that stuff? And people were just buying it blatantly. And you know why? Everybody thought it was legal. It was legal. So they just started selling it everywhere. You might remember a few years ago, the police department did a big roundup, about 8 or 9 smoke shops, all at one time. It took out all kinds of police things. We got thousands and thousands of packages of this stuff. So I did my own little research. An overcover buy. Now you've all heard of an undercover buy, right? What's an overcover buy? Anybody know what that is? It's something I just made up. I was at lunch with about 4 different prosecutors, young prosecutors, due to my office, and I said, man, I've been hearing about this stuff. Heidi Fressy, who used to be a commander of the police department, called me, same thing, that these police officers are seeing this stuff being sold at these stores, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know if it's illegal or not. What's going on? And I go, are they careful about who they sell it to? Just other drug dealers or drug users? And they go, no, it's out there for anybody. So I did my own little overcover buy. I sent one of my new prosecutors, this young lady, who figured she had to do whatever the boss said. So I gave her $40, and we stopped at Mr. Nice Guys, and she went in and bought it. Because I was wondering, would they just sell it to this respectable-looking woman dressed in a business suit for this stuff? And she said she went in there and wanted to buy something, she had no idea. The lady goes, like, what kind? What brand? She goes, I don't know, just give me the good stuff. And so the lady at the counter gave her the good stuff. And so for $40, she bought this little package. This little package says Mr. Nice Guy. It says hydro, which makes you think it's hydroponic marijuana. If you don't know what that is, it's a more powerful strain because it's raised in water. And Mr. Nice Guy is a proprietary organic blend used to enhance aromatherapy. Wow, that sounds like incense, right? It also says not for human consumption. And so you're thinking, like, why are these people buying it then? And it also says lab certified. I have no idea what lab it is, but it says lab certified. Okay? It also says does not contain, and y'all remember these, JWH18, JWH73, HU210, CP47. All these things are any other prohibited ingredients. So people were saying, look, right here, it's lab certified. It doesn't contain any of those things that are against the law. And it says it's legal in 50 states, 100% legal. Now you're out there buying this stuff, what do you think it is? You think it's legal, right? Because this package says it's legal. BS. Okay? It's not legal at all. But this stuff was being sold on our shelves to our children, to teenagers, to adults, to everybody. I sent my prosecutor in there and she had no trouble buying it. No trouble at all buying it. $40. A little expensive, $40. So that's what an overcover buy is. So I started looking more at these things and trying to figure out what we're going to do. And there were some problems at the start. The problem was, is this pot? Or is this newfangled stuff? Nobody knew what it was when you looked at it. Nobody knew what it was. You'd spill it out on the table, it looked like incense. It smelled like incense. Cops are trained on the detection of marijuana. They know what it looks like. They know what it smells like unburnt. They know what burnt marijuana smells like. But they had no training for this stuff. They had no field tests for this stuff. Now, you know, often when they go out in the field and they see white powder, they think it's cocaine. They have these little kits. They can put a little bit in there and see if it turns blue or green or whatever it is. And they can tell, yeah, this is cocaine. This is heroin. This is the stuff. They had no field tests for this. So the people out in the field, the boots on the ground, had no idea what to do. The second question was, is there probable cause? Can we arrest them or not? Probable cause is the legal standard that you need to arrest somebody. Okay? But is this pot? Is this synthetic marijuana? What is it? So there was a huge problem with the officers on the street. Can we arrest or not? And guess what? They couldn't arrest because nobody could tell me for sure that this was synthetic marijuana. Well, it looked like synthetic marijuana, but it also looked like regular marijuana. You know, so there was no, we didn't have that legal definition because officers couldn't see that stuff. So our biggest problem was, is there probable cause to arrest? And we had to tell the officers, you can't arrest because you can't testify for me that that this is synthetic marijuana. Now, most officers can get up on the stand and say, based on my experience and training, this substance looks like heroin. Based on my training and experience, this is marijuana. You can do that pretty easy. But now we didn't have probable cause to arrest. So they couldn't do anything. Frustrating as heck for the officers. Frustrating as heck for us. There was huge delays in testing for this stuff. And I'll go into more detail in a minute. And then what the heck are we testing it for? What is this stuff? Is it compound ABC? Is it compound XYZ? What is in this stuff? Nobody knew. We still don't know most of the time what's in that stuff. And then, of course, how to prove it in court. How am I going to prove that this stuff that the guy out on the street got picked up with is synthetic marijuana? So those are some of the key issues we've had, and we'll go through them here. The probable cause to arrest. Well, I'm going to give you a test. Ready? Everybody look at the screen. Which is synthetic and which is real marijuana? Synthetic on the left, raise your hand if you think synthetic on the left. Okay, synthetic, what's that on the right? Real then? Does anybody think the stuff on the right is synthetic? Well, y'all must know it pretty good because it is synthetic marijuana on the left. But you know, when we first started getting that stuff, nobody knew what it was. And it came in the size and shape, it looked a lot like it. So you had to be able to do this stuff, but nobody could. I mean, we're more acclimated to it, 5, 6 years ago. We couldn't tell the difference. Here's the next test. Synthetic? Synthetic? Which is it? The one on the right is synthetic, right? What about the one on the left? It is too. And you know why? I know because I got it off the screen. It says synthetic. That's how good I am. But seriously, it's in an unmarked package, right? It's an unmarked package, and that's what we would find. Some officers would find it in the packages that they could say, that's a synthetic. I've seen those kind of packages before. But the one on the left, which I'll call loose, and no visible packaging, when your officer's on the street, can he arrest for the stuff on the left? Probably not, because he can't test it. He might be able to say, based on my experience in training, I've arrested people with this demon stuff, and it's always tested to be synthetic. I mean, there's a huge amount of problem. And the way I look at it is, I have to worry about what's in the courtroom, they have to worry about what's out on the street, and I got to get from the street to the courtroom. And there's a lot of issues when we first started out. So we had this early rule on arrest, which makes it like this. You couldn't arrest them on this stuff that you thought might be synthetic marijuana. You couldn't use that testimony based on their observation and training because nobody had any training on that stuff when it first started out. Nobody had it. Even the narcs couldn't really get up there and testify to that. And they work with narcotics all the time. So pretty much it was write a report, let it go, send it to the lab for testing, and hopefully if it comes back positive for synthetic marijuana, then we go out. So it's almost like a catch and release program. We thought it was this stuff, we write up a report, we send it off, and then maybe we get a test back, and then we can arrest them. That was when it first started. It's changed a little bit now that we've given the authority to the officers to arrest them if it's in an identifiable package known to the officers as containing synthetic marijuana. Okay, so that's why when they can see this demon or Scooby-Doo snacks or whatever this crap is, K2 or whatever, they can arrest because that's what they see the package at. Okay? So, but you know, I'm making this sound easy, but it was not easy. This took a long time to develop all this stuff because it was very new to everybody. And that's the overwhelming thing. It's so new, we're behind. One of the other speakers said we're always a step behind the chemists and the people using stuff and distributing this stuff, and that's true. It's unfortunate. Now let me tell you about the delays in testing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here's how it used to be. DPS labs who do all our testing for free, there's about, I think, 13 or so across the state or so. They do all our lab testing for free. And they were horribly backlogged. Horribly backlogged. On the cocaine, the meth, the heroin, those regular cases. All right? Horribly backlogged. It was taking us months and months to getting stuff in. They have never had to test for this stuff, for real marijuana. If you bring a case to the DA's office now, I don't need a lab test to show it's real marijuana. Almost any officer can testify to, based on my experience and training, this is marijuana. We don't have to send off for lab tests. This stuff, they can't testify that. So now, remember when Chief Alvey said about the thousands of cases they're getting every time? Because we get so many of these cases, it's overwhelming the system. So they have to send it off to test for synthetic marijuana, which we had never had to do for regular marijuana. So this new stuff had to get tested. Well, guess what? When we first started, I mean, it's not been that long ago. We were taking 3, 6, 9 months to get tests for just your regular drugs, your cocaine, your heroin, your methamphetamine. It was taking us forever. We passed every judge, every defense lawyer, every prosecutor across the state. Everybody was having that problem. I would go to seminars and I'd talk to some prosecutor from Killeen or West Texas or East Texas. Their labs were taking forever to get this stuff out. Well, now they got this other stuff. These synthetic marijuana were not taking 3, 6, 9 months. They were taking a year and more. All those smoke shop cases we talked about earlier, the big buzz, we didn't get a lab report for over a year, like a year and a quarter, before we even got a lab test back on this thing. And guess what? They had 4,000 packages. They would only test a representative sample because they couldn't test every one of those little packages. So the system started grinding slowly to a halt. We're waiting on drug cases. Now we're compounding. We already had a problem. Now we're really backlogged because of this stuff. Horrible problem. Still not completely fixed. It's still taking us a lot longer. The legislature finally gave DPS some more money for more lab personnel. We still have a lot of delays. It's getting a little better, but something's happened that's never happened in the 29 years I've worked at the DA's office. The DPS lab started farming some of these lab tests out. There's a lab in Pennsylvania that does our testing for synthetic marijuana because we're so overwhelmed. The Corpus lab had to farm it out to like Westlaco and Temple and other labs across the state because they couldn't handle it. Not just Corpus, but it's a system-wide thing that they're going outside the system. So synthetic marijuana, I was just asking one of my prosecutors yesterday, it's taken over a year sometimes to get this stuff. Well, think about it. The guy gets arrested. He's told to come to court and just lag. It takes forever to get him into court. So cases aren't resolved very fast. And then the question with lab was, what do we test for? Okay, I'm going to get this next part. I'm going to tell you about all the experience I have in chemistry. Ready? H2O means 2 parts hydrogen plus 1 part oxygen equals water. Okay, that's all my training in chemistry. That's it. I know that. You go talk to these chemists, and it's incredible what these chemical compounds are. And so I'm going to kind of shorten it a little bit, because in the beginning, there was about 12 chemical compounds that were outlaws. In the book, in the Penal Code, or the Controlled Substances article, there's about 12 of them outlined. It says, and I'm just going to use letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, okay? That was all that was said. These are against the law for possessing these. But the lab only had the capability to test for like 4 or 5 of them. So when we get these first tests, we're going, yeah, now we can test for the synthetic marijuana. We'd be getting these negative lab reports back. And I'd go like, how could you have negative? Y'all told me this is synthetic. And they say, well, it could be. I go, what do you mean? Well, we only test for 4 or 5 things. It might be number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going like, this is not helpful. This is not helpful to us. DPS had to revamp a lot of their testing processes and get all these other chemicals to use as controls, you know, if they use the test time. They had to go buy these other chemicals because they didn't even have these things in their labs. So they started testing for more, and so we could test for those 12 different compounds. But guess what? The bad guys came up with more chemical compounds. So those 12 became many more. They weren't coming back, and we go, what is it? We know it's synthetic marijuana, but it's not one of those enumerated ones in the statute. So then they changed the statute, and then pretty soon about 40 chemical compounds were illegal. They bumped it up from 12 to around 40. And guess what? The bad guys came up with more chemical compounds. Remember that I was talking about staying a step ahead? Then they moved it up. It's about 120 chemical compounds that were all outlawed. And guess what? They came up with more in these sub-compounds. So Again, it would be like ABC is illegal, but then they would come up with ABC subsection 2, or subset 3, or something like that. So it was like that stuff, but not quite the same thing that was in the book. And as prosecutors, we look at the book and say, is it in the book it's against the law? Yes, it's against the law, but it's not in the book. We can't prosecute it. So that screwed up a lot more cases, because we couldn't do that. Every time we would fix our testing, they would fix their production, make it a different thing, and something just slightly different. So, what do you think happens? We go to the legislature. The legislature, and we say, help us, legislature, we're getting killed by these synthetic drugs. Sometimes the legislature helps, and sometimes we're not. What happened in 2013 was there was a bill by a senator, and I think her name was Huffman or Hoffman, kind of like the inventor of this stuff, came up with a bill that said, okay, let's put something that encompasses all these things, not just ABC, but any derivative of ABC. And I know I'm probably not using the right chemical words, but bear with me. There's some kind of derivative of this, and that would all be illegal, any of that stuff. Everybody's going, man, great, we were all going, yeah, good job, let's do that, let's do that. Oh, it didn't happen, because it did not pass. It did not pass. I don't know for sure, but I heard it was some kind of, you voted against my bill, so you're not going to support your bill, and something like that. Everybody agreed that it was needed, but politics got in the way, is what I've heard. So we lost this unique opportunity to fix it back in 2013. Man, it screwed us up more. You know, the problems with the lab adding more tests and adding more compounds was big trouble. So finally in 2015, they came to the census that they did pass it. And it's now any of these compounds that are listed or any of their derivatives. So now we have good laws to do that. But it was 2 years too late. You know? So now the results come back with some kind of chemical compound that is illegal. And you should see these names. I used to get lab reports saying, this is okay, this is heroin. Now it's got all these chemical compounds I don't even know what they are. A few other issues when I wrap up in prosecution, it's become the defense du jour. That's my French speaking words for of the day. Like when you go to a restaurant, soup du jour, soup of the day. This is now the defense of the day. And it goes like this. I don't care if it's burglary, kidnapping, rape, assault, robbery, murder, capital murder, shoplifting. You show me a drug user, I'm going to show you a thief, because they steal to support their habit. They shoplift, they burglarize, they do something, and maybe they'll do something worse, like robbery, murder, capital murder. And there's their defense. I needed money to buy legal. Like I'm justified to do this because that's why I had to have it. We were on legal, otherwise I would not have done it. I did not know what I was doing because I was on legal. I'm mentally off. I'm legally insane. I'm legally incompetent because I was on this stuff. Or my favorite, in the old days, but they used to always say, the devil made me do it. The devil made me do it. Well, now it's the legal made me do it. We have that in a lot of cases where it's the du jour. What's next? I really don't know. Who knows what the future will bring? What really, really bothers me is these guys, these crooks are staying a step ahead of us. They have law enforcement, prosecution, and the labs. What really worries me is somebody like this is out working in his little lab. You guys are Dexter's lab. I'm not that old. Or that somebody like that is making something in his lab, and they're going to try to outfox us because that's what happens, right? They always come up with something big. Or somebody a little more sophisticated, like this guy. Eisenberg, Breaking Bad, remember the chemistry teacher that said, I need to make more money for my family, so he started making the best meth that they can make in New Mexico. That's what worries me. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think a coalition of group, community, legal, legislative, political, we need to do something because by the time it comes to my office, it's too late. We need to prevent it from even getting there. And to answer a couple of questions that came from earlier, it's a misdemeanor if it's less than 4 ounces. Okay, it's all driven by the weight. If it's less than 4 ounces, it's a misdemeanor. If it's over 4 ounces, it's a felony. When it first started getting these cases, probably 99% of them were just street level, people on the street with a little bit of drugs. The police department has tried to get more into the dealers and people selling that stuff, so now we're getting a lot more felony rate. Not a huge amount, but we're trying to get those dealers that we didn't have before. So that's kind of what's going on. As far as rehab programs, if you get convicted of this, and Joe's correct, Judge Benavides is correct, he only handles Class C. If they're Class Bs or As, they're almost always going to get probation, some kind of drug rehab, that the probation giver. I don't know if there's any kind of rehab program developed just for this, but there's a lot of programs out there, and they'll go on probation and probably get that kind of help. Anyway, that's my presentation. I'll be free to answer any questions.
Yes, and we have time for 2 questions, so we have time. Any questions? We have time for 2 questions.
And I love it when my talk is so complete, nobody has any questions. I answered everything. I'll be around afterwards if you
Yes,
have any
thank
other
you so
questions.
much, TA.